on.
This is Pop Culture Yearbook. On this show, we pick pieces of pop culture that were important to us in a given year. We then discuss memories and dig into those movies, albums, shows, and more. I'm Brad.
I'm Pete.
And I'm Giff.
And we're closing out 1999. What'd you say, Pete?
Before you go on, sorry, I just want to mention, in the spirit of the show,
switching up
our listeners can't see. We can all see each other. And I want to thank Gifford for being in the spirit of the show and wearing his whipped cream bikini tonight.
Yes.
I hate to break it to you, Pete, but it's not whipped cream. It is shaving cream because whipped cream would melt.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It does not work. So it is shaving cream, and there are two cherries.
Is that a banana?
Yeah.
Different movie.
Okay. Anyway, go on. Why don't you introduce our guest?
Well, yeah, you might have heard the voice. Some people listening might recognize that voice because he's famous in the podcast world. So tonight we have from Playlist Wars, Gomez joining us to talk about Varsity Blues. So say hi, Gomez.
What's going on, guys? Brad, Brian's good to finally see you guys.
Great.
It's awesome. It's been waiting for this show, for this one. This has been.
It has been a wait because we planned this way back in February when we recorded the Foo Fighters.
Yes.
Here we are, and it's almost June now. So
it is now May at the time that we're recording this.
May and playoff hockey time.
Yes.
Sorry to be taking you away from
the
Rangers
okay.
game right now.
It's okay. It's tied 3-3 now.
That's a lot of scoring.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Yeah, that is a lot of scoring.
Yeah.
So
it's like Gifford in high school.
Compared to you, yes. Yes.
All right. Anyway, so we are excited to have Gomez and thank him for waiting around to finally record this episode. It's a movie that's dear to him and dear to us, especially Giff. Gifford probably would have picked this movie even if we didn't have this extra week, I'm guessing. So thought we knew it was going to work out.
Right.
But why don't you, Gomez, for people that don't know, do you want to talk first about your podcast or anything else you'd want to plug or anything like that?
Yeah. Well, everybody knows me as Gomez from Playlist Wars, co-host of the dynamic duo now, as we're back together. I was gone for a little bit. I had to take care of some family stuff, and now I'm back as of today, joining on my first podcast in a while with you guys. We are.
What an honor.
And it's an honor for me too to be on your show too. Playlist Wars. Let's talk about it. It's two best friends, me and Brian, over 27, 28 years of friendship. We've known each other. Came up with an idea of the show. He came up something with Playlist Wars. I'm like, that's a great idea. Let's run with it. It's you're picking up your 10 best songs of your favorite group, genre, 80s, 90s, Motowns, everything you could think of, movie soundtracks. Actually, I'm kind of curious to do a video game soundtrack one day soon, or just do a Grand Theft Auto, a whole thing of Grand Theft Auto. We pick our top 10, and then we let the listeners choose the winners. Everyone gets to hear the list of everyone, why we like it. We explain it. Brian has his music knowledge. And I throw in my sports, video game, movie knowledge into it, where it's been in movie soundtracks or even in a little scene of a movie, or it's been in a sports anthem of, something with the Rangers or Boston, even video games, which everyone knows highly that I love my Grand Theft Auto. So I talk about it a lot in almost every episode. So, everyone can check us out and everything and everywhere. At Apple, Spotify, Good Pods. You can find us on playlistwarspodcast.com. You can check us out on patreon.com/playlistwars, where people could sign up, pay to, come on the show with us. Do a double LP, do a full show, just things like that. And me and Brian and all the guests, Brad, you've been a guest on our show, which we thank you so much. And we did a really great touching show with Foo Fighters. So for us, that was near and dear for us. We have episodes coming up soon. Brian just did One Hit Wonders with the Nostalgic Podcast. Those guys stepped in for me. Chris Hartman did another one who's from the Films Exile. He stepped in for me. I have a lot of these great podcast families like yourselves who's helped us out in the time that I had to leave for the show. So check us out again. The dynamic duo is back. The Twitter world was going crazy last night, putting Eminem's stuff up, writing Guess Who's Back. It was great just to see how much people did miss the show with me and Brian on it. So I'm thankful for everybody who's helped us out. The support from everybody's been awesome. People have been checking in on me, at least once a week or every 2 weeks, make sure I was okay, alive. Yes, I am. So things are going great, and it's just going to get now, like in that song, it's going to get even better.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys are doing great, and you totally deserve it. And you've been so nice to us, especially
Yes.
me, who's hounded you guys so many times about being on the show when you let me on. And I think I'm going to be on again for an REM episode, from what I heard. So
Yes,
I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
That's
You don't
actually
know
gonna be
anything
fun.
about REM. That's ridiculous.
Brad's going to get into this new band that he knows nothing about called REM.
It's a good. That's going to be a good show too. I'm actually looking forward to, because that's a secret band of mine that I truly love a lot.
Oh, nice. But yeah, you guys are so nice and helpful, and you always have guests on your show, and that's a key part of your whole show, and that's so great how you include others. And so I thank you, and I'm so glad you're here with us tonight.
I appreciate it a lot, guys.
All right.
Just to throw it out there, in case you ever do a Garth Brooks episode, I know that the guy below me on the screen here would love to do that too. So
All right.
he just might be a little shy and trying to suggest
volunteer himself.
He's our country fan.
Hey,
Yes.
we'll definitely talk. I'll talk to Brian tomorrow. I know he is battling COVID now as we're speaking.
Oh my
But
goodness.
he said he's fine. It was just his daughter, I think, was a little under the weather. She tested positive, but I think he's going to be fine. But I've been talking to him on and off the last couple of days, just getting back into the swing of everything, what we need to do, rescheduling a couple of things here and there. You know what I mean? And we're all we're just totally excited. And I know Brian is really excited to have me back, so he doesn't have to do my load and his load.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right. So the first thing we always ask our guests is, because we love to talk about nostalgia and memories here, and we talk about anything: music, movies, TV, games, whatever. So what
And
are
more.
some of and more?
And more.
What are some of your pop culture influences that are important to you, Gomez, from any time in your life?
So growing up in the 80s, there's a few shows that were important, really important in my life, that I still, if I find them, I watch them. Airwolf was one of them. Loved Airwolf.
Yep.
Another great show was the A-Team.
Yeah.
The Dukes of Hazzards.
Oh yeah.
But my
course.
number, then the next show, there's 5 TV shows. Miami Vice, just because I love the Ferraris at that time, and I actually wish I was Don Johnson. That hair of his was so awesome at that time. I wasn't a big fan of the pastel colors, but it worked for the show. But the number
Speaking
one
of fashion, I just want to confirm to the audience too that he is sleeveless tonight, as always. So
yes, I am.
staying in character.
Yes, I am. And my number one show in the 80s was Knight Rider.
Oh,
yeah.
Now, what
Kid.
kid wouldn't want a talking Trans Am that does 200 miles per hour and can jump anything?
Right.
Yeah.
So, that's where a lot of my influences came in, like policing, detective. I always liked all that type of stuff growing up. Music-wise, the 80s were Tears for Fears, some early Metallica, different music I listened to, like more poppy at that point. Then came the 90s. 90s, I was more all about the hip hop, growing up from New Jersey, it was all hip hop music for me. Then someone reintroduced me back to the rock world. Then it's Metallica, Limp Bizkit, POD, System of the Down, Wu-Tang Clan. I threw all the mixtures in, and P. Diddy and the Family, all them. It was just one of those genres that I listened to all types in the 90s. And when it came to movies, one of the movies that came out in 99, which is the year I graduated high school. Yes, I just aged myself tonight.
You're a young kid compared to
You're
the
a young buck on this podcast.
Young pug, but you see the white hairs. And I know no one sees them, but they see the white hairs now.
Not as many as me, but they're
Not
there.
as- they're there. the true love of the movie Varsity Blues. It actually takes me back to my senior year of high school. We had the quarterback, which was he wasn't a Jonathan Moxon, but I will say my junior year he was, because it's kind of funny. Number 7, the Lance Harbor, was my starting quarterback my junior year. Then his younger brother is the starting cornerback in defense, who becomes the starting quarterback my senior year. And he was number 4, Jonathan Moxon. But he waited for his time. He waited for his time. No, guys, I did not wear number 69. So unfortunately, I wore number 79. But
okay.
I was the Billy Bob.
All right.
But
Nice.
better looking and more built, not round.
Did you have a pet pig?
No.
and you weren't 28 years old while you were a senior in high school?
No, but I look like I was 28, actually. If I was able to show you guys a picture, you'd be like, holy Christ, he does look like he's 28. Why do you say that? Because I was the only one who was able to buy beer. I literally could go into a liquor store and go get beer. And not
He was
get
the
garbage.
Kohler. He was the Kohler of his school.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, that's our guy, Kohler.
Yep.
So, it just, that the importance of the movie for me was just like, it felt like the team togetherness, you know what I mean? Like, we would hang out after the game, do stuff all together. That's how I came from a small Catholic school. Now you're talking about the state of Texas.
Right.
If anybody's been to Texas, which I have a few friends who live there, they tell me it exactly is like that. Towns close, shut down for the games on Friday nights. And it's ridiculous. I mean, they're saying these high school stadiums look like NFL stadiums.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So that's always something I always wanted to do. Always wanted to go play football in Texas. I never had the opportunity. I became a coach at the high school level for several years. I got to win a state championship,
Wow.
as a coach, which was awesome. I got to coach kids, teach them stuff that what I failed in my kind of high schoolish way, I chose not to show those kids those ways. I showed them a different way. And you know what? It's kind of funny. You might laugh, but I know several kids went Division 1, Division 1A, honor roll students, not full scholarship athletes, but scholarships for learning. You know what I mean? On something. So for me, academic. Thank you, academic.
Like Moxon.
Yeah, Moxon. I'm still trying to figure out how smart he really was, if he was in honor roll classes or not.
Hey,
Right.
academic scholarship at Brown.
Yeah, that's
pretty
true.
good.
But anybody could get into Brown.
I'm trying to figure out how smart the coach was, that he had this guy sit on his bench that he made fun of all the time, and he's like some superstar quarterback just sitting there waiting to go.
Yeah.
Well,
Throw
when
the
you
ball
got
70
Lance
yards.
Harbor as your starting quarterback, you're not going to bench him for some smart.
Yeah, but he still treated this guy like he was the worst quarterback ever, and he was never going to be able to do anything for him.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean, it's just one of those scenes of,
It was because of his effort.
yes, he was reading Kurt Vonnegut.
Didn't like the
Yes.
intellectual.
Slaughterhouse
Reading
rules.
books instead of the playbook like he was supposed to be doing.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, it's like any smart kid would be doing.
Yeah.
All right. So Gif, you're probably the next most into the movie. So you want to talk about why you love this movie before we get into it too?
Well, I believe I'm almost positive I went to see this in the theaters. This came out January 15th of '99.
Did we maybe go together? Because I know I did too, and I couldn't remember. I swear it was with a group, so maybe we were together.
Oh, if I know it was a group.
That may be. That may
But
be.
I wasn't with you guys.
No.
No.
That would be amazing.
That would have been funny, though.
Right?
That would have been cool, actually.
Yep. Yeah. I just love it. Well, first off, I was
Of
a
the
fan
three of
Dawson's
us, too,
Creek.
by the way, you were the more accomplished, if you want to call it that, high school football player. The 160-pound offensive lineman.
That's,
165. 165.
That's not exactly high praise, though. I mean,
No.
Well, I
Let's
didn't
be
play,
honest.
and Pete, you were the last guy off the bench. So
that's right.
I was
Right.
I was 285.
yeah,
Average
my
margin
God.
of victory of games in which I appeared was 29 points. So there.
You were the key to those victories, is what you're
I
saying.
played defense. I played defensive back.
Can't
and
argue with that
allowed
logic.
0 points. I allowed
There you
0
go.
points. So there you go.
So yes,
Not the end.
I played what was it, left guard my senior year for a team that was 3-5. We were not good. The guy across from me on the defensive line usually outweighed me by at least 40 to 45 pounds. I did play a guy in Westbrook, Walnut Grove, who was 285.
Gomez.
And
Okay.
I put him on his back in the end zone on a goal line play that they ran right behind me. So that was maybe the highlight of my football career.
Who scored the
But
touchdown?
it would have been Travis.
Orison? Okay.
Yeah. So my number was number 60. So throughout this movie, while I was watching it this time, I was looking to see if there was a number 60 out there. We know that Billy Bob's 69. So the only time I saw a number 60 anywhere in this movie, in the locker room, on the field, anywhere, was the blocked punt scene.
Oh yeah.
Billy Bob comes in, grabs a guy, throws him out to the sideline. That guy's number was number 60. So
By the way, a throwback to
doesn't mean anything.
Throwback to our previous episode, or an earlier episode where we did Not Another Teen Movie. I wore the number 45, and that was perfect from that movie. What was the name?
Is that the kid that got cut in half?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and that was me exactly.
Walk it off.
And speaking of that, if you like this movie and you're listening to this episode, I think you should go back and listen to that episode too, because that movie's one of the greatest movies that we've ever seen here.
Yes, it came out 2 years later.
That was a good movie too, actually.
Yep. So, and in that movie, Ron Lester parodies himself as Ricky Ray. And
not Billy Bob.
I don't know if you guys noticed this, but the guy in the sex education class who, when they're asking about
Boner.
the boner guy,
Yeah, the boner guy
is Ricky from Not Another Teen Movie.
Was it?
The guy who plays basically Ducky.
Oh no, I did not notice that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't even think about that.
I didn't either, but when he
it's easy to
his
blur
hand-
the two movies at times because they're so
True.
well done in those scenes, and then they play the My Hero song in both and everything.
Yep.
So it's hard sometimes to keep straight, and because Varsity Blues is kind of not always the most serious movie, so sometimes you forget which one you're watching.
But getting back to why I loved it so much, I mean, I was a Dawson's Creek guy. I started watching that from the beginning. So having the beak in there was good.
So you cried when what's her name left Dawson, huh? For Pacey.
Joey.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was tough. That was tough when Joey left. So actually, I went back and started watching Dawson's Creek again, like one after another.
God.
It does not hold up. You cannot.
How do you
can't
admit that on live podcast?
All right, I'll cut that one out. I'll edit it.
No, leave it in there because I said.
Well, he
last
said it's
week
not
when
good.
When we did TV, Dawson's Creek was like my number 4 from 1999. So I have to stay true to myself. Gomez, you go sleeveless to stay on brand. I go a little wussy to stay on brand.
Okay, well, you know what? For both
I'm
of
fine
us.
with it. So yeah, I mean, I thought it was a fun movie. There's some boobs in it as well. I'm always a sucker for some gratuitous nudity, so that never hurt. The whipped cream bikini scene is awesome, and Allie Larder in her film debut did not disappoint.
This is her first
So-
movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
That was
what
her
a debut.
first. That was a great debut.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
I wasn't,
yes.
especially looking at the shotguns when he turns around when she walks out in the whipped cream bikini. He's looking at shotguns. So
Yep.
that's always wondering what the parents would have done if they came in and saw that.
Well, and they are at the gun club.
Yeah.
So really, you're going to go
Right.
over to this girl's house? Her parents are coming home at some point, and they're probably toting some new guns.
And don't forget, there was a picture of Lance Harbor and her, and Lance was looking out like, hey, what you doing?
Exactly.
Things
Exactly.
change, Mox.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Here's my
Now-
So, I mean,
question
I
on
just
scene.
loved
on
it.
The,
And-
on the whipped cream bikini, would the cherries actually stay on? That's my question.
Would any of it really work, Pete?
None of
I
it
don't-
works. Trust me.
I don't know.
Trust me.
I'm not saying a word.
None of it works. I tried to do the from Not Another Teen Movie the quarterback thing. It doesn't work. Melts right off.
Oh, jeez.
So yeah, that's why you got to go with shaving cream.
Yep, that lasts a little bit longer.
Yeah. So.
All right, so I think maybe I saw the movie with you. I don't remember for sure, but for me, this was a movie like I saw it as like kind of a joke movie when it came out, but you secretly loved it at the same time. Like, and it was fun. Obviously, it's fun to watch with a group.
Mm-hmm.
It was instantly quotable. Like,
Yep.
we're going to probably go through a whole bunch of quotes here tonight as we talk about it.
There's a few ones that stand out.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but it's been a while since I watched it. It hasn't been since then, but it's probably been, I don't know, at least 10 to 15 years, I would guess, minimum. So I was curious to see how it would hold up this time. So I wasn't disappointed. It was fun. Even by myself this time, it's still a fun movie to watch.
For me, watching, I was looking at deleted scenes on YouTube, and it was kind of funny. There was a show with one of the guys from Sports Center with James Vanderbeek, and they were talking about how John Voight was as a coach during the movie, and to dramatize their scenes a little bit. So they said it was when they're having lunch, he would go, "Hey, Paul, Scott, and Billy Bob, I forgot his name." They invite him over and leave Vanderbeek by himself. So they said that he even said like making those for that to make the scenes more climatic against him and Voight was like a big thing, like almost like a teaching moment. And he said that one scene, towards the end when they were putting the needle in Wendell's ankle, scene was impromptu because he said that the scene was dragging out, and that's where Voight slammed a door, and that's when he slammed his hand on it. It's like, you don't give a fuck about us. So he said that whole thing was like all improvised.
Really?
Wow.
To make it more dramatic. And Voight said to him, "It's like that's what we needed." When they cut. So he admitted to that. So it was pretty cool to see some. It wasn't in the DVDs or anything. I just went on YouTube today at work for a couple minutes. I had a few minutes where it was quiet at work. I said, let me just see if there's anything cool deleted that I noticed. But again, just so many good scenes in that movie too.
Yeah.
Right.
Pete, do you have any memories of when you saw it? Were you with us, do you think? Or
No, I don't think so. I think I've only actually seen this movie once before because I didn't really remember most of I remember the key scenes like the bikini and the certain lines and whatever, but the entire movie I really didn't remember that much of. So it was kind of like watching it for the first time this time around.
Kind of like when you watch The Usual Suspects.
Kind of like that, yeah.
Anyway, he forgot how it ended.
But yeah. But I enjoy it. I didn't know if it was supposed to be, if it was wanting to be a comedy or a drama or what.
Exactly.
That's kind of what I was trying to piece together, but it kind of was both, but it was more probably drama than comedy. But it definitely had some really funny moments like, son, did you start a cult, sweetie?
Yes.
That's so sweet.
That's so sweet.
Whatever it was.
Right.
And that kid, the kid, it's actually a kind of tragic story about that kid. The actor, his name is Joe Pickler, or is it Pichler?
Is this Mox's brother you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yes, the younger brother
Kyle.
is starting all these different religions. It's a different religion every time you see him. And the actor has been missing since 2006.
Oh my God.
And he's basically presumed dead because nobody's seen him. The police and authorities suspect it was a suicide. The family is insisting that it was foul play, but nobody knows for sure because they haven't found him.
Jeez.
Yeah, I read that too. I mean, you got Paul Walker and Ron Lester have passed on.
Yes.
From this movie, and then you come to find out that this young actor has been missing since, what'd you say? Was it 2006?
2006.
Yeah. I mean, good Lord, that's kind of nuts.
Well, this is kind of jumping ahead, and maybe it's insensitive now that you brought all this terrible stuff up, but this kid, I'm looking at, like, how did they have this kid with as hardcore as these parents are? How is this kid the way he is? He reminded me of the brother in Better Off Dead. That's what his character is.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very
this kid
good.
that just does not fit, does his own thing, and what's he even doing here?
Well,
I kind of gathered that they were just paying so much attention to the older brother, Mox.
I suppose
so they were focused on him, and they were. I think there was a reference that they were going to get him into football, or that when he got older, something like that.
So the way the dad is, it seems surprising that he would allow this kid to be the way he is.
Right, but Moxon isn't the way he wants him to be either. I mean, he's not interested in football.
At least.
He's
but he was.
But he's there for the social aspect of it. He's not there because he's crazy about football. His buddies are on the team.
The dad.
He's there because he's good at it.
Him.
And he is a good quarterback. He's got a cannon for an arm, and so he's kind of pressured into it. So yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, that scene where he chucks the ball from a seated position like 30 yards.
Yeah, okay, no one could do that.
That's a hose of an arm, for crying out loud.
Well, Uncle Rico could probably do it, but
Uncle Rico could throw it over those mountains.
Yeah, he really could, but that was such a the shooting machine, the football machine, because that was just way too perfect. The spiral.
Right. Oh yeah.
Like, there's no way in hell. I go, listen, I like Jonathan Mox, but let me tell you, he don't have that arm there.
No.
So you brought up, Pete, is it a drama? Is it a comedy? What is it? And if we get into it now, the movie starts with this very dramatic voiceover at the beginning, which is fitting because football in Texas is that big.
It is.
But still, with the tone of the movie, I feel like, it's a little bit over the top. It doesn't quite fit the theme of what they end up doing later on. But it's definitely dramatic at the beginning.
Yes.
Yes, it is. It is very dramatic in the beginning. I think I like the entrance to this movie just because of that dramatic beginning. Because, first of all, it's a movie made by MTV.
Yeah.
It's, it's not... You're talking
that tells you something you want to know right away there, too. It's an MTV movie, so...
It's an MTV movie. It's not like the Jackass movies, I'll tell you that much. But for MTV to pull off a movie to have a somewhat of a dramatic entrance, like you said, you hear Jonathan Moxon talking about life as a, Texas football player as a young kid, the same numbers and everything, you know what I mean, growing up. Except Mox was actually the quarterback, you know what I mean, at that time, and Lance Harbor was the running back. And Tweeter, of course, was the wide receiver, and Billy Bob was still Billy Bob.
Right.
Except there was no beer or a pig next to him. But Moxon was the starting quarterback in Pee Wee football. So it looks like, Lance could have gotten upset, say, hey, I want to be the starting number one guy. Lance could have, during his Pee Wee days, kids days, teenage, before football, before he became starting quarterback for West Canaan High School, he trained. Because, when you see the dramatic entrance to it, it was weird. You know what I mean? Like, his not weird, but like, I guess when they went to go pick him up, you see him lifting with his bag, and it's like there's like a godsend, like and all that.
When they pick up Lance.
Yeah, when they pick up Lance, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the music that they have when he comes out of the house, and he's got the billboard in the front yard.
Two-time all-state quarterback, Yep. And that's cool. Yeah, but that's what they do down there. That's what it is. That's the funny thing.
And they're praying for him right at the beginning too, and it's like, again, the drama with that, and like how much they idolize the guys.
Right.
Yes.
So, but that's Moxon, I think, right? Isn't he praying for him at the beginning? I mean,
no.
Or is it the other way around?
That was his brother, a crucified 11-year-old in his bedroom. He goes,
What
happens if Lance get hurt? No, don't say that. You got to pray for the health of Lance Harbor.
There you go. What a team guy.
The team guy, yeah.
Yes.
Right. And then the dad asks him, "Did you pray for playing time?" when he comes downstairs for the bedroom. I mean, it's all about God and football are really the only two things that matter to the adults in this town, and it's just absolutely crazy.
But you know what? Even for me, like I'm assuming you guys went to public school.
That's correct.
I went to Catholic school, so for us, God and football are the two main things.
Yep.
Even though I kind of preach saying family first, school second, God third, football last, you know what I mean? But in reality, no. When you're playing varsity, it's God then football. Everything else don't matter, especially if you're a starter.
Yep.
So we brought up Billy Bob.
One thing. I was just gonna say, watching this time, it was kind of fun for me because, one, it took me back to growing up in a rural community, and just the
we're
scenes
from a
out in
very
the country.
small town.
Right,
No.
very small. But driving around in the country, picking the guys up before school. I just remember, I carpooled, picked some kids up before school, and it was just, it took me back to that. But then also now as a hockey parent to two boys, football is huge in Texas. Hockey is huge in Minnesota. I mean, that is really the sport of the state. It's the state of hockey.
Oh yeah, I mean Minnesota.
Youth sports is nuts with hockey, and
oh god, yeah.
And high school hockey is enormous. So I can see a little bit how people go nuts over football because I'm in the middle of it with hockey. So it was kind of fun to go, see from my childhood and then also see it as a different way as a parent.
So for me, as a parent now, I have two kids. I have a daughter who's turning 6, and I have a son who's going to be turning 2. My daughter's been watching hockey with me, and she would like to play hockey. I said, I don't know if that's for you, but if she wants to try it, I'm more than welcome to take her skating first. Mm-hmm. I also love golf. She wants to play 18 holes with me, but I'm like, I don't know if that's going to be good for you. Let's try mini golf first. Make sure you love it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I would love to go to Minnesota, first of all, because that's like Hockey Town, USA, besides Detroit. So for me, anytime I go to the Garden, I'm like a fat kid in a chocolate cake factory. I'm going crazy because I love going to the Garden, for a Rangers fans. So for me to even go to Minnesota to see any type of either pond hockey, high school hockey, college hockey, Minnesota Wild hockey, for me, that would be an experience that I will always take forever. But that's me. You know what I mean? There's other people who think they're great at hockey and they really sucked. So I know a couple of them. I never played. I played street hockey with sneakers. I was always the goalie.
Sure.
I always pretended I was Mike Richter until I did the splits.
Nice.
And I'll tell you, I was hurting. So for me, the love of the game was football. Growing up, like you said, you guys came from a small town. Originally from a small town in Rutherford. Rutherford had 2 high schools, public and the Catholic school. Unfortunately, I went to Catholic all the way through. My parents sent me to the Catholic school, and they want to make sure I was brought up the Catholic way, which I get. Parents were Catholics and everything. Me growing up now, teaching my kids, I want them to be happy. I don't care if they go to public school or Catholic school. As long as they get a good education and they want to play sports, you're maintaining some grades. I'm going to learn from my mistakes because I don't want them suffering what I do every day. So, that's also the main focal point that Varsity Blues had too, was grades. Mm-hmm. Yep. At one point in the movie, when they're getting ready for a championship run, what does Voight do? He goes, I got your grades under review. I know your scholarship about Brown. I can blow this whole thing up for you. Talk about being unfair.
Mm-hmm. Right. Oh, he's just a monster of a human being, and he does a good job of portraying that. And that's, the big antagonist of the movie is the coach in general.
Here's a comment that I had about Coach Kilmer. That's John Voight's character.
Yes.
So he's won 22 district championships, right? And they're going for in the final game, they're going for his 23rd. And it's as if his whole legacy is riding on this one game. It's like, if they lose, how much is his legacy really going to be impacted? That's what I kept thinking about this.
The stadium is already named after him. There's a bronze statue outside at the stadium. Like, I don't know if one game is gonna sink his ship. That's a good point.
It is all about this game, because even we're jumping way ahead, but when you get to the end, like after they win, we don't find out what happened after that. Where do they go? Do they go to win the state championship or what? Nobody cares about any of that anymore.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. It is like Major League, because in the first Major League movie, they just win the division and that's it. But you don't know until the next movie came out.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming, like, down there, because football is such a huge thing, a district championship, you want to win a state championship, but you want to beat the towns around you. That's the bragging rights. That's that's almost as important as a state championship, I would think.
Well, it makes sense because
sense.
We want to beat Wisconsin and everything, and
Right.
that matters about as much as like a Gopher football season can be made or lost depending on whether they beat Wisconsin.
I mean, for me, it's like when I lived in Rutherford, the neighboring towns, even though I went to a Catholic school, we played against a lot of public schools in my division. So, like for me, Hasbrook Heights, Lyndhurst, East Rutherford, North Arlington, Harrison, and there was another school Secaucus. You're talking about neighboring towns. So when my junior year hit, we were 9-0 going into Lyndhurst. Now, I was superstitious back in high school. You know, you go into a Catholic high school, you cannot have a beard. So on Monday, I would shave.
I still can't have a beard.
Oh, I can. You ready for this one? This thing has been this goatee here with the white little speckle here of Polly walnuts. I had this since June 16th, 1999.
Wow.
You know why? How I know that? Because that's the year I graduated. And I said I could grow a goatee and not get in trouble.
Right.
Perfect.
So, you know, my head coach reminds me of Bud Kilmer, but he had a caring side though. If you were injured, he would take care of you. You know what I mean? So for me, my head coach at that time, Mike Sheridan, was Bud Kilmer. He cared about winning a state championship every year. He cared about putting the best team out there every year. But if you're injured, he expects you to be at that field no matter what, but taking care of yourself. You know what I mean? I didn't learn that until like kind of my sophomore year playing football. I was mostly playing soccer at that time because I was too heavy for football at that point. So for me, when I got to see Varsity Blues, and I'm like, wow, I actually kind of had a tear in my eye because I go, this reminds me of my team. You know what I mean? That's why I love that movie so much. Kilmer reminds me of my head coach. Lance Harbor reminds me of my first starting quarterback, the older brother. Jonathan Remoxon does remind me of my second year quarterback. So I could say I was the only one who played right tackle and left tackle and watched out for both of them on 2 different seasons and in 2 different times.
Where does Brian fit in? Was he a football player too?
Brian was a football player. So Brian and I met when I was in 8th grade. He was a senior. So I went to St. Mary's for a day because I wanted to see the school and see what it was like. And I was paired up with somebody else at first, but when the head coach has total control, he's the dean of students, the head football coach at that time, who was my football coach too. We were like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, hey, I'm going to pair you up with Brian here. I'm like, okay. And we looked at each other like, wow, we look like twins. Like literally in our younger years, we look like twins. So I got to go. Me and Brian connected pretty quickly, talk about football, talk about this, talk about that. And we had similar interests. And then me and Brian just clicked. So when he graduated high school was the year I entered high school. Okay. So Brian and I kept a great connection from that. After he left, he went to Catawba. I kept in touch with him through, Instant Messenger or AOL at that time. See how he was doing down in football. See if there's anything maybe he can help me out. And we just had a great friendship. And then, when I got older or when I turned 20, we still looked alike, so I was able to get into bars with him and band. And they're like, "Oh, you're his twin." I go, "Yes, I am." It's like, "I wouldn't need to card you. Go ahead." So they're hanging out 20 years old,
perfect.
Hanging out with Brian in the band, drinking beers. You know what I mean? So Brian and I's friendship is so important. I didn't have a brother growing up, so Brian and I, after 10, 15 years of knowing each other, I just felt like we were part of each other's family. So he knew my parents very well. I knew his parents very well, especially when he met his wife. I was there at the wedding. Actually, I was videotaping his wedding and being in the wedding. I was doing both, a little bit of both. We just had a great friendship, and look at us now. Almost 30 years later. Right? It's amazing what we have accomplished together, and what we're accomplishing now. So for me, it was the start of the football program at St. Mary's for us.
That's cool.
Me, I still have my jersey right there, sealed up. You know what I mean? Because that's the last jersey I ever wore ever since after I left. because I tore my knee up. I said I want to become a coach, and that's what I did, and I coached, and
Sure.
I was kind of like a Kilmer. I'm not gonna lie, with the freshmen, I was a little bit of Bud Kilmer, but there was a lot of people who respected me on that. So, I had an edge to it. So that's why that movie's so important to me with the kids. You know what I mean? Teaching
Right.
them and loving it. Like, you're not Jonathan. You know what I did? I actually did run the oop de oop my freshman year. We ran that oop de oop, and boy, did I get in trouble by the head coach. So I became a varsity coach, not a varsity coach. I was a freshman head coach that year. I said, "Ooh, I got an idea. Let's run the oop de oop." They're like, "What?" Let's do 4 receivers one side and let's see what happens in one game. So we did this package. Everyone looked at me and the coaches were like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Just trust me." And then they saw it and then they're like, "You just ran for an 85-yard touchdown. How the hell did you do that?" I go, "It's called dumb luck. We ain't doing it again."
I got Charlie Tweeter on the far side isolating that DB over there, so that's why it worked.
That was one thing that I thought of. So when Moxon becomes the quarterback here, or even in practice, he's just throwing in like these brand new offenses out of nowhere, and yet everybody seems to know all the plays and know what to do.
Yeah,
right.
And Moxon is the one that shouldn't know anything because he hasn't been studying the playbook.
Well, he only knew the basic package.
That's why he's doing it, because he's just making stuff up. He doesn't actually know the playbook.
But everybody else knows what to do too.
Yeah,
well, it's kind of funny. Like
right.
when the was it the assistant coach is doing the even I right and someone goes, "How did you know that?" I'm like, "That's called evens. I right. You're covering your right eye. That's I right." And it could have been a pass play for all I know because they weren't giving the ball to Wendell
right
that much near the end zone. So what does he do? He does a throwback pass. I love when Kilmer goes, "This is in the formation. This is the formation."
right.
So, all right. So let me ask you this: if we're talking about the signals, when they're signaling in the hook and ladder in the championship game,
oh my God,
would the signal actually be hook and ladder?
Yes.
And how don't you pick that off if you're the opposing team?
That's
not a hard sign to steal for Pete's
You know what's funny though? I'm gonna be honest with you. They throw dummies.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I was coaching, I was the main offensive play caller. I actually had one of the other kids throw a dummy play because they started picking it up. Because you get one guy who will scout you and they'll watch all your signals.
Right.
So what I started
like stealing signals. It's like stealing signs in a baseball game.
So I ended up doing is I would tell the kid, hey, give him this signal, and then I'd be like, then I would just do something stupid like take my headphones off like that, or do this, and he'll know what play it is. Like, we'll make it easy. If it's going to be a run, it'd be like this. I do like the shooter McGavin, for that, or if I did something like that, it's called a pass play. Pick it out. You know what I mean? I let the quarterback choose that play, or he read it when he read the defense. You know what I mean? And it worked out really good for me.
All right.
And, so even in high school level, like I scouted when I got done with freshman teams, where everyone's at the varsity game, I actually went to go scout the teams for the next week. Okay. I would actually not be there to look for call plays. I would actually concentrate on the team, what they run, how they run it. I was like I was the assistant coach for varsity too, but I was I broke down the plays for them for the team that week. I would have draw up cards ready. I would have the tendencies ready. I explained when they would do it. Like in the first quarter, they'll run this play 13 times just in the first play. And then if it's second and third, this is what they're going to try to do, but it won't work because of the counter. Their counter sucks, So I would.
See, we're having tornado warnings.
I heard.
And so this thing could go off the rails real fast.
No
Hey,
worries.
Pete, you want to shut that off? Yeah, I got to shut off.
I'll hold on to the laptop
At any point,
though, in case I start flying away.
I don't have a laptop. I could
Like
be whipped off the ground and dead here live on this thing at any point. So
our Varsity Blues podcast is going to turn into Wizard of Oz here as we watch.
Yeah, just going to say, I was looking out the window and I see a witch flying out there.
Oh well, I'm in my basement, but I see Voltron.
Well, going back to the hook and ladder play, my big observation there is they're on the 17-yard line.
Yeah,
that's not usually where you run the hook and ladder from.
You could.
That's a play you need to run when you have a long ways to go.
That's like a Hail Mary.
Yeah.
Well, that's true.
That's like your Hail Mary pass. It's like you do it like if you're on the 40, on the 17-yard line. I'll tell you, that's a ballsy call.
Yeah.
Would Kilmer have called it?
No.
Oh, of course not.
Kilmer would have called something that maybe didn't work.
What I love is that we got Coach Lance at this point in the second half. He's got the headphones on. Who the hell is he talking to?
Well,
there's no coaches left. Like
that's what I was.
Nobody up in the booth. Why is he got the headphones
left?
On?
Kilmer walked out, but where are the other coaches? How are these guys just in charge of the
off?
I read this as a fun fact. All of the coaches left, which in the state of Texas, they would have to forfeit the game because there must be at least one certified coach on the field during a game.
Yes.
No, that's a big plot hole.
Yep. Well, and if you want to talk huge plot hole, how about the play that Lance gets hurt on? That should have been called dead because Billy Bob false started when he fell over.
Yeah,
yes.
So
I was like yelling at my screen when that happened.
I think there's a lot of plot holes. So
there is,
and it's not like it wasn't like he just barely, jumped. I mean, he fell over before the ball was snapped.
Exactly.
No way the ref doesn't see that.
So how is it then he comes back in and then plays the rest of the game on the game-winning drive? Like how is it he falls over, he can't hardly breathe, but then he's able to finish out the game?
Well, I did something similar as a concussion player.
Mm-hmm.
You grovel up whatever you can. It's the last minute of the game. It's coming down to crunch time. You're down by 3. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. I got one concussion in football, and it was a similar play as what Billy Bob had. I got a helmet on each side.
Mm-hmm.
But the way I remember it is that was third down, and we didn't make it, and we punted, so I came off the field, and it was way late in the game, and I don't ever remember going back on the field again because, I was dazed.
That was the night. You came up to our place. You came up to my place. We were all hanging out at my place. You came down to the basement, and you just looked like you had this dead stare. Like your eyes were just bloodshot. I don't even know if you remember being at my place.
I remember being at your house, but I had no peripheral vision. It was just tunnel vision. Everything up the sides was... And I drove home that night. Everything was tip-top and went to bed. And, probably should have been doing that.
You want to talk about injuries of the football team, right? So think about this. You're playing, 4 games down. He gives Lance Harbor 500 milligrams of what?
Right.
We know it's a painkiller. How many can I have? Keep it. I have more at home. Is your mom a dealer? Because
Tweeter's got the hookup for the what are we guessing? Well, because later in the movie he talks about girls are panty droppers, and he's talking about how he Cosby's girls, and he gives them Percocets and Vicodin.
Yeah.
2 beers, a Percocet and a Vicodin, and the panties drop nicely.
Tweeter, do you think you're going to enjoy prison?
And he is indeed driving around in a car with naked underage girls.
Yes. Well, he's underage himself.
Well,
it's okay then. Everything's fine.
He's 18. So, whatever. It's the same shit.
They were sophomores. Yeah, it was established that they were sophomores.
They were sophomores.
They were definitely not sophomores in high school. If you looked at them.
Well, I don't know. That one girl. The one girl who took Jonathan's jacket, Mox's jacket, she looked like a sophomore chick. The 2 in the back probably didn't.
Oh, that's true.
So, Gomez, you talk about how the people in this movie, they remind you of your teammates.
Yeah.
Well, for me, Billy Bob reminds me of Bloomy. I don't know if you guys remember Bloomy, but That's Billy Bob.
I know where you're going with Tweeter.
And Tweeter is Brad
Norgard.
And I'm not saying
and
that
we meet Tweeter, and right away, what does he do? He moons people with his butt sticking out.
With a coyote tattoo.
Yeah. And that would be our friend Norgard in high school, who constantly had his butt sticking out.
I'm not saying Norgard ever stole a police car and drove around with 3 naked girls in it. But if you heard that story of him, you go,
you'd believe it.
Yeah, it seems right.
You're like, yeah,
that seems about right. I don't doubt that.
I actually have a couple of teammates like that who are Charlie Tweeter too. So we didn't steal no police cars either, but we stole each other's cars. So that could be as bad as stealing a police car when you're stealing your friend's car. So
and Norgard does have a history with other people's vehicles, so we don't need to explain what those are at this time. Yeah. But
we'll talk offline.
Yes. So that's one of the other reasons I love this movie is Charlie Tweeter is Norgard.
Yes.
We haven't talked about Jules at all yet.
Well, there we go. I'm back again. Sorry, guys.
She's like the one that's supposed to be the straight person, but she's really judgy. She's really not very fair to him, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think so either, because it's like immediately he gets put into the game, he does well, and immediately she hates him right after the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's over at that point.
But you threw a 40-yard pass. Where the hell did he come from?
Right? Yeah, but it's like she should at least be happy. That's his girlfriend. At least be happy. And then over time, it should build up like he becomes this cocky asshole or something. But no, should have been like.
I mean, come on. She what was it? The first party that they're having. She's drinking that game quarters with Billy Bob.
Yep.
Yeah.
Come on. Let's see your dinner, fancy boy. And she hits the damn drink. It's
that's right. Yeah.
Yep.
That was my famous puke and rally. That I said on Twitter today. It's one of those scenes that not me personally, but I know somebody who did that, walked in on the quarterback and puked and said puke and rally. I'm like, oh my God. And when I saw the movie, I'm like, oh my God, this is just so him right here. I can't believe were they at our party when they did this?
Well, and in that scene, she's drinking a beer. It looks like it's the first time she's ever drank a beer out of a bottle. Like she has no idea how to. It just didn't look natural for her to drink that, did it?
No, she did not look natural drinking it at all. Poor Amy Smart. I think that was her first movie too, wasn't it?
Was it? I'll look that up here quick. But I did see a thing where her and Allie Larder have been like best friends for 20 plus years.
Well, I mean, they did. I know they were like in 2 movies, I think, together besides Varsity Blues. I just can't remember.
Was it Road Trip in 1999 too?
Yes.
And Amy Smart was in that.
Amy Smart was in that.
So
yes.
If this was her first movie, I mean, she was in some pretty big movies right off the bat.
She was in some movie in 96, 97. She was in Starship Troopers in 97.
Oh, yes, she was. I forgot about that.
I am not picturing her in that.
Yes, she was. She was racing against. What the hell was that girl's name? Denise Richards. They were racing to race for the pod. So Denise Richards wins the race, and she's like, "You'll never let me fly." She goes, "You need to win."
Road Trip was the next year in 2000.
Oh, it's 2000.
But yeah, she had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 credits before this, 10 movie credits before this.
Wow.
Yeah. That's what I thought. But I would say the biggest of them would be Starship Troopers. Just a small role in that.
Small role, but still, she got credit for it.
She did get credit for it, yeah. Yeah, and I kind of thought, like, she just didn't fit in. I think that's maybe why her and Moxon were such a good fit, because he wasn't really into the whole football craziness scene, and neither was she. Like, you look at the people, these girls around school, like, she says of Darcy, when she's in that little blue dress, I think, at that party, And he's like, why don't you ever dress like that? And she's like, well, it takes a lot of money to look that cheap.
That's not. Well, she's she's pretty smart. She pulls A's. That's not all she pulls.
But she just doesn't seem to be into that whole scene either. And I think that's why her and Moxon work out so well. But yeah, she seems to want to rise above it all.
Which is kind of funny. That's Lance's sister.
Mm-hmm.
Your best friend is dating your sister.
Yeah,
how would you feel if that was your? No, I mean, you're the second string quarterback.
It is. It's also, it's kind of a small town. It's Texas. It's bigger.
It's true.
But like growing up in a small town like where we grew up, I mean, there's a lot of incestuous overlapping.
I wouldn't say Rutherford was like that, but thank God for two different high schools.
Yep.
Incestuous overlap.
We should probably spend a little bit of time talking about the trip to the strip club and the sex ed teacher. I mean, that's a pretty big part.
Yes, Miss Davis.
Miss Davis is fat ass.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's funny that she is not only a stripper, but she dances to Hot for Teacher, and it's not far away. And yet somehow nobody's found this out before.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Well,
Another plot hole.
Hold on. No. Moxon noticed the car.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a nice car for a teen salad.
Oh, yeah. There's a little foreshadowing there.
Foreshadowing, like, what the hell does she do?
Yeah.
And she takes off, like, hey, nice game, Johnny. Like she was drunk, like his mom. So it just makes you wonder, like, what does she do? Come on, hot pink nails.
And it's funny, she's teaching sex ed, and she's got the glasses on. I mean, it's the most stereotypical look you could have, but hey, it's great.
But the best scene is seeing those guys' faces, like, oh my God, it's Miss Davis. It's like,
right.
It's Miss Davis, and she just rocked out.
And I do love how after it's over, she's hanging out with them, and that's pretty funny.
Yeah, she was mortified.
Good sport.
Right.
Mortified with her freaking babies hanging out, and like, oh shit, it's my senior class right here.
Right.
So
yeah, that is a great scene because like Brad says, these guys are drinking on the house because they're well enough known in that area as the star football players. Yet,
yeah.
How does nobody in that town know that Miss Davis is the strip? Because based on the dads that we see and the people, the adult males in this town, they're going to strip clubs.
They're regulars.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
Maybe all the dads knew though is just a surprise to the players.
Or they're so absent in their children's education that they have no idea that she's a teacher.
That's also possible.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that they're absent and they did not know.
Well, and that was one of the other things, like in the scene early on when Moxon's running the dummy O's and the oop-oop, the dads are there watching afternoon practice. Don't they have jobs?
No.
Like, how could they be hanging out for 4:00 practice?
Okay, you did see what West Kidden looked like, right? They have one deli, one bar restaurant. They shut down the city for the night when it comes to game time.
Not for practice, though.
My dad came to my practices.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, in my opinion, the only guy working in that town is the billboard guy because he makes a nice billboard for Lance, and then when Moxon has to be the starter, he gets his own billboard. So that guy at least has a full-time paying job.
I'm so
all the time.
Distracted by all the weather and stuff here. Did you say you had dads at your practices, Gomez?
Yeah, my dad and a couple of other dads.
Because that was a note I had made, was like, what the hell are these guys doing at these practices? This is just so over the top. But I guess maybe not.
They're drinking too, aren't they?
Well, no, they're drinking coffee. They had Dunkin' Donuts coffee and donuts on the cop car. I do remember that.
That's right. Yeah.
Like my dad would be there to support the team and two other dads who were off on Tuesdays. So my dad would go once a week, not every day. He would go once a week just to see how the team is practicing and all that. And, just to see the other kids because my dad would serve us breakfast Saturday mornings before game time. So for me, it was kind of important. And I always loved seeing that. And my dad was just part of the team. And when he passed, it was for a contribution he did for the team even after I graduated. He always was there. Even when I was coaching, he was still helping us out.
Yeah, that actually doesn't seem that ridiculous, I guess, when I think about it. Because
Once a
the way
week is
parents
one
are
thing.
with their kids' stuff. But in the movie, it just, like, what are these guys doing? It just came off
yeah.
Yeah.
a little much.
Everything is about watching their kid do their thing.
Yeah, and they're just all living through each other. Like, my kid's the best, and like it validates them, and it just shows how pathetic they are. But
Well, it just shows like the when the beer contest between the two dads.
Right,
When he said if Kilmer wasn't such a prick, Moxon would be a starting quarterback. Could it be true if Kilmer wasn't a prick?
well, Mox is pretty damn good, so
it looked like he could throw.
Again, he doesn't give the effort.
Well, no, but he doesn't want to give the effort because he doesn't have to because he knew he was better. Well, he didn't want to say it though.
Yeah.
And he wasn't that interested in football, though.
He really wasn't.
He didn't make a big deal out of it. So
yeah. So for me, we could actually argue saying John Moxon could have been better than Lance Harbor. Maybe he could have been 2-time Texas All-State, going to Florida State, and getting all these women.
I think he would have been.
But that's not how the plot happened.
But as Coach Kilmer says, and this line I love and I remember it, when he says to Mox, "You're going to be second string your whole life." That is a great line.
Wow.
You're going to be second string your whole life. It makes me wonder if you know the difference between a sneeze and a wet fart. That line sticks out to me always.
Yeah.
Or another line that sticks out is when they finished the Bingville game. And I'm going to say this, the editing was pretty bad in this movie. Because you see the guys walking down under the stadium, and they just cut to Kilmer right to Moxon. You know what I mean? It's like, wait a minute, you missed some kind of dialogue that just did not flow. But it's funny. He grabs the book. And the one thing that he says is like, if your daddy didn't play his heart out for me, I would cut you from the team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not for nothing. You, as a high school football coach, you don't cut anybody off the team except if they did something that hurt another player or deems punishment to being left off the team.
Right.
This is not the NFL. This is not college football. This is high school football. Right. You know what I mean? But when you're living in Texas, it is like that. And, the movies that we've seen after Varsity Blues with Texas movies, we've seen it and we know it. Another great movie was Friday Night Lights. Mm-hmm. Look at that movie. That's a true story.
Right. It's like the same movie. I mean, it's only the real true story, dramatic version of this. But I mean, it's pretty much the same, idea behind it. It's
right. Mm-hmm. Well, and Kilmer knows he can't cut him because he is the backup quarterback.
Well, no, that's
Tweeter. But Tweeter's
he wasn't going to play
killer.
Him.
Well, he does know how good he is.
Yeah, but I mean, there's got to be a reason why Tweeter, when they were arguing at the end of the movie, well, Tweeter, you take the snaps. And he's like, no, I'm not, because I'm going to be with my friends.
Well, Tweeter's like the emergency backup goalie that they have on call at pro games.
That's
the
true.
guy who goes in just in case, something really goes awry.
I wonder, did he eat Chinese chicken and tofu something before the game?
Right. Yeah, spicy chicken.
Yeah, spicy chicken and rice. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Anybody think it was a little bit quick how Kilmer just walks out? I mean, it doesn't take long for him to just leave there and just give up right away.
Well, that's because Billy Bob was going to rip his arms off and beat him to death with them.
I know. It's still, though, with how strong this guy was and how hard he was on everybody, it's a pretty quick give up.
Well, I mean, another thing I learned was when Kilmer was talking about the beginning of the game against the Gilroy game, everyone's like, stick to the plan, you know what I mean? One thing is, and as a player and as a coach at high school football level, one thing I remember is like, we had a plan, but if the plan don't work, you're going to do what's working. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Stick to the basics. You use the kid Wendell. Now here's another great football player, Wendell. Let's talk about him because we really barely talked about him.
Turns out Kilmer's a racist on top of everything else, and yet he's still seen as the greatest guy ever.
Right. You know, Wendell was going off his Wendell was going off his stats. Do you know how many times I ran for touchdowns? I don't know, 7? No, 3. It's because I ran for over 20 yards and broke him. You know what I mean? You think he calls for Grambling State or anything for that? No. His mom has been doing his recruiting. I don't know what his mom's doing, but she did a good job because he got a ride to Grambling.
And Kilmer, what does Kilmer keep stressing though? What kind of a team are they?
Run team. They're a running team.
So
and they're not using their best running back.
Yeah. It's a little curious.
Well, because he needs to make sure that Lance has his stats up so that he can keep his ride to Florida State, and they get down towards the end zone, and it's always a rollout for Lance, instead of handing the ball. But that goes back to the whole racist piece of crap part of Kilmer.
And I'm going to tell you, and I remember when the cop and the guy who wears the hat that's bent like he thinks he's over the top goes to Mox's house to talk to his dad. Gilroy, it was all 4 team. Now they're all 3. They're just killing people. We just want to make sure. I guarantee Mox will stick to the game plan.
Right.
And Mox is getting the letter. Now, first of all, when you get an acceptance letter, I've never seen an acceptance letter that small. It's pretty big.
Right. It's a big envelope.
I got accepted to at least 2 schools that I wanted. Notre Dame never called me, so it's their loss. So for me, he gets accepted into Brown to a full academic scholarship. How awesome is that? You know what I mean? They're going nuts. And it's like, his dad's not proud enough.
No.
Right. And
doesn't matter because it's not football.
It's not football. He's like, I'm proud of Brown, but let's talk about football. It's like, really, tell me who wins, because I don't want to be a part of it either. And that's sad because, I've seen kids like that, and my dad never pushed me like that to be the football player that I should have been or could have been, whatever. I had my opportunity. I played high school. I didn't get a chance to get into the college level because I hurt my knee. It sucks. But I had an opportunity to coach, which was great. I'll tell you, 6 years of coaching was unbelievable for me. I was going to college, worked part-time at Sherwin-Williams, and I coached football. And I loved every minute of it because coaching those kids was so much fun. And they would make fun of me. It's like, well, you just graduated and I'm calling you a coach. Half of that team was my teammates from the season before. Now they're calling me a coach. You know what I mean? It's difficult. It's not easy. You know what I mean? I get it. But seeing that, that transformation in that game, where Kilmer said 48 minutes for 48 years of your life. That is not true. You play 48 minutes, you play the way you should play it. You know what I mean? And that's something I loved when Moxon decided to go against him, like, screw you, whatever keeps that needle out of his ankle, they did it. And then I've never seen a coach go after their player and try to do a chokehold on them.
Right. You haven't been in Bobby Knight's locker rooms, obviously.
Well, no, maybe. Well, Bobby
what about Bruce Gross?
I never saw Bruce Gross go after anybody either. To be fair.
But when you look at it, you know what I mean? I've never seen that ever. And to see that, and then all of a sudden, like, the whole team, you're expecting the whole team to follow you?
Right. Exactly.
No way.
And that's maybe why he left as quickly as he did, Brad, because he knows he's done. Like, he lost.
I know he does, but it's still like he's not a give up guy. It's just, I get it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So Gomez, you talk about that 48 minutes for the next 48 years of your life.
Yep.
When I'm watching my 12-year-old goalie, we'll get to the third period and I'll look at my wife and go, this is 15 minutes for the rest of their lives. In a meaningless, nothing game. It doesn't really matter, but I love that saying.
But what's funny? Like, I get what you're saying, you know what I mean, Brad? Because I was not, when I started my athletic career, I was not on the best teams. You know what I mean? And I was always upset because I always want to be on championship teams. I want to be the winner. I want to be up there for everybody. You know what I mean? One thing I learned about winning and losing is, and this is a direct quote from any given Sunday, except it's not on every Sunday. It was definitely on Saturdays for me or Fridays, but it's not how you win or lose, but it's how you're going to lose the game, incorporate it for the next one.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's, to me, is always something more important. And that's one thing I always said to the kids. I remember when we went 9-0 my junior year, and we lost to our rivals in Lyndhurst. And because I shared my teacher, I told her, Sister Margie, the only nun left in my school, I said, if we lose, you're going to hell.
Oh.
We lost. I never walked into her classroom again.
Wow.
Yeah, I said some powerful words. I got in trouble for that, but
yeah, I would hope so.
But I didn't care because I was so pissed because it was the day before the game. You just do not do that to me. So for me, it's important that you lose, and that was an important game we needed to win because that was, again, our district title. I had to do a 3-way tie with 2 other teams with us, but again, it's the importance of it. How did we pick up? We picked up and we went all the way to the state finals. We didn't win the states, but here we are. We went back into a 6-game winning streak. To get to the way to the finals. So it all depends how you pick up each other. You know what I mean? I think that's what the team tried to do when Mox is going, hey, let's play 24 minutes for 24 minutes. Let's be heroes. Let's play like gods.
Let's be heroes.
And what song did they use from Foo Fighters?
My Hero.
Exactly.
My Hero.
Best.
That's exactly it.
They used it in the perfect timing for Billy Bob's blocked punt. I mean, everybody was going nuts. What was it? Big Daddy Stud Tanner was so like Billy Bob. He was like going crazy.
Stubby Stud Daddy Tanner.
Okay, there we go.
So those announcers aren't actors; they're actual announcers that call Texas high school
games,
football.
yes.
Really? Yeah. Yeah, they were great.
That's actually pretty cool.
I prefer the announcers in the Not Another Teen movie still too.
Wow, that was the fastest
football I've ever seen.
What the fuck just happened?
But I mean, overall, great. The quickest half of football. What the hell just happened?
I did have just one more kind of fun fact that I don't think that we covered. We touched on it a little bit, but Mox's uniform number was number 4 because James Vanderbeek, his favorite player was Brett Favre. That's why he chose the number 4. Yes.
Okay, that's pretty cool. My quarterback didn't like Brett Favre. He just liked number 4.
Okay. I thought that's where you're going with that.
No. But it was just kind of funny that I'm not mentioning their names for a good reason because they're actually they're good friends of mine still, and I respect for where they work. I don't want to mention the names, but the older brother was number 7 and the younger brother was number 4. So it was just coincidental that I blocked the blind side of number 7 and I blocked the right side of him just so no one gets hit. And in 2 years between the 2 brothers, I was the only one that could say I played left tackle for his brother and I played right tackle for the other brother. and I only let up 1 sack between 2 seasons for them.
Wow.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's good.
I dominated people. Don't get me wrong, I took a break here and there, but if I didn't have to pass block good, But I mean, when you look at high school football, you see the guys down in Texas. The guys are 285, 300 pounds. Here in Jersey, like Brian said, he was 165 as a guard.
Yep.
Tiny. That's what you see now. When I played, I'll never forget, I played against Immaculate Conception of Montclair. This guy who I was going against, a defensive tackle, he was number 78, and his name was Bloomfield. When I went against him, I'll never forget this. This is me. I looked up. He was 6'7", easily 325 pounds. I went to my coach. I go, Coach, how the hell do you want me to block this guy? First of all, I tore up my knee. They taped me up so I could play. And I'm like, whatever, I'll do it. I got under his pads, and it was a wet game. It was raining. I got under the pads. I started moving them, and they're like, "Look at Gomez. He's pushing him. Look at him. He's pulling. He's pushing." And the guy signs with Nebraska that week too.
Wow.
Guy signs with Nebraska Division I. So for me, it was a huge accomplishment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then we go to the state finals. Now, that's when you're playing. For us, we play the Catholic schools. Now, there was not that many Catholic schools in Division I for me because it's small school. My graduating class was like 79 kids.
Mm-hmm.
But the team that we always faced, I called us the Buffalo Bills of high school football. We faced them 3 times in the finals. We lost to them 3 times in the finals. Our first year, we never scored. Our second year, we did. And the third year, my senior year, we almost beat them. So for me, we lost, but to me, it was a win because we almost beat them. You know what I mean? They had to come back to beat us.
Right.
It was just an incredible teams. Again, another guy who I went against, we called it the Battle of the 79s. This guy was a Division I All-American. He's got schools from Oklahoma, Nebraska, all these big name schools, and I had nothing. You know what I mean? I said, "Coach, whatever you need me to do, I'll do it." I had to shadow him every play. Now, he only played one way. I was playing offense and defense. So you think how I felt at the end of the game when the horn had sounded.
Right.
You know, but he gave me a lot of credit because to go against him and play that whole entire time is just impossible. So like Billy Bob, like, you know, when you said Billy Bob got hurt, you know, what do? You know, you're going to suck it up and you're going to do whatever you can.
Right.
You know, that's what a lot of my teammates did at that time. We all sucked it up. You know, it was like in the replacements, chicks dig scars, but glory always lasts forever. Unfortunately, we didn't get the glory part, but it is what it is. You know what I mean?
So one other thing I wanted to bring up, the scene after Lance gets hurt and Mox and Darcy are leaving the hospital, and he's giving her a ride in the car, and she strips out of her cheerleading outfit.
Mm-hmm.
My wife is a self-proclaimed captain of the cheerleading squad for the boys basketball team when she was in high school. And I called her into the room when I was watching this, and she confirmed what I thought. As a cheerleader, you're not going to wear a strapless bra underneath your cheerleading uniform. It's just not going to work out for you. Unless they just weren't doing very hard cheers, but you're not going to wear a strapless bra underneath your cheerleading sweater. That is for certain.
There's a giant plot hole right there.
Yeah, that's another plot hole.
Add it to the list.
Yep.
And Mock's not looking. Yeah, right.
That's the bigger plot hole. Yes.
He's like,
I don't care.
Driving off the road.
Yeah,
I'm going to stay
care.
on the road for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't care who you are. You're looking. Come on.
Yeah, what your other girlfriend situation is, you're going to look in that situation.
Yeah. Even though it's your best friend's girlfriend and you're dating your best friend's sister. You're still thinking.
Yes,
you know, I still find that to be a weird love triangle.
Yeah.
You know, I still love, but you know what's funny? No, we really didn't talk much about Moxon's brother and the change of religions.
Yeah.
How about when he went to the convenience store to buy a box of condoms?
Yep.
Right.
I only replied to one name, Assalamu Dar. He goes, "That's a bunch of names." and then he goes, "Assalamu alaikum," and he puts it back in the port. And then, "What do you have at the convenience store?" Is a poor guy, and he's like, "How do you want me to respond to that?"
Yep.
So it's just those funny things in this movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the line that Mox has is, yeah, but would Allah nail Darcy if he had the chance?
I love that. Yes, because the kid's like, I had to think about it.
Yeah, he's scratching his head. He's like, oh yeah, probably.
I think he would.
Yeah. Yes, I think he would too.
Did I hear it wrong at the end of the movie? So we got the voiceover again at the end after this big game that they win.
Yes.
So this is not the end of the season. Like they just won this game.
Go on.
And
he
says, and I never played football again.
Yes, I marked that down too.
It's like, okay, well, you left your team when they were going to state, probably.
Right.
Probably.
Yeah.
Now that is a
Whatever.
plot hole right there. That's
Right. That's the last
way
note.
to...
That's the last note I have on the movie is
Me
wait a
too.
second, there's playoffs.
And he
here.
never played football again.
Well, maybe
Well,
they
I mean,
had no coaching
they-
staff and they had to
yeah.
forfeit.
I mean, because don't forget they couldn't lift that stupid statue because it was too heavy. Billy
Yeah,
Bob,
which
that's
again
a
is
crier.
BS.
That's a
That's
dumb
BS
plot
because
hole.
that's a farm community. Everybody has a tractor. Like you could have moved that thing. Come on, somebody has a tractor with a loader on it. You just pick it up and
They
move
had
it.
individuals with ropes tore down statues of Saddam Hussein. Do you remember that?
Yes.
It had to have been
Yes.
way bigger than this statue.
Billy Bob.
Well, everything is bigger in Texas though, so that might have been a bigger statue. Than
It could have
Saddam's.
been.
Maybe we should retitle this episode "Plot Holes in Varsity Blues."
Billy Bob is a crier because Billy Bob cries.
Yep.
Tweeter drinks beers because Tweeter drinks beers. Now, first of all, how did you get the beers in the game and him doing this? You know,
On the field.
on the field
Again. Yeah.
Because they don't care. They can drink legally.
They can do whatever
They're
they
just
want.
going to turn the other way. They are football players.
Well, and there was a scene earlier in the movie that reminded me of Hummel when the dad has a flask in the stands, and he's I think it's Mox's dad.
It's Mox's
pulls
dad.
a flask out of his jacket and
Way to
takes
go,
a swig,
Johnny.
and I'm like Hummel, that's
way to go,
there in
Johnny. Way to
Yeah,
go,
so
Johnny.
I'm a teacher, and right after I got hired, there was a football game that I went to with a couple of my friends. Gifford was there, and one of my friends at halftime like pulls a beer out of his coat.
He had like 4 of them in there.
I'm like, what are you? It's a high school football game, by the way, just to clarify.
Well,
You're
We
trying to
didn't
get
go
me
into one of
fired
the
on my
porta
first
potties
job,
and,
I guess.
dump them out, throw them away. Like this is Brad's. It wasn't your high school, but it was your school district, and we're like, this isn't
No,
good
I
for
worked at that
Mr.
high school
Sorensen.
that year.
Oh, I thought you were at the middle school then.
No, I got hired at the high school.
Oh God, yeah, that's even worse. Oh
No.
my God. So
All
one other line that hasn't been said yet that I wanted to get in. It was the game after the strip club, and they're in the huddle, and Billy Bob's quote of, "I got the squirts, Mox." I love that line because first off, you're a huge sweaty guy playing football. You already know he's got swamp ass cooking, and then to have I got the squirts.
I can't believe we just talked about this whole movie and nobody said a certain line yet. We should probably all say it together.
3, 2, 1. I
don't want your life.
I was waiting for that till later. I thought it was going to be, what's up with Darcy Sears' friend? She fell off the ice sucked tree and fell every limb on the way down.
Oh my God. Oh, that's
Darcy's
good stuff.
friend?
Oh,
All right.
I do have, I
Good
don't
tweet.
know. if you
Wait,
got
but we
any,
didn't talk
like-
about Billy Bob's
ahead.
breakfast. What the
where
hell?
he
We
dips
eat
the waffles.
Was that a waffle or a pancake?
I thought it was a waffle.
I thought it
Maybe it
was
was a pancake.
I thought it was a pancake too.
Okay.
I don't know.
Maybe it
Could
was
be
a
wrong.
You guzzle syrup.
Yeah. He was just like drinking the syrup like it was whiskey.
Yeah. It might have been whiskey in there for all I know.
Could have been.
I just don't want your life.
Right? Oh my God. How many calories that guy packing in on the way to school?
Oh my God. I don't know. I was waiting for the pig to be road ham.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't know if you guys have any like final thoughts, but after watching this again, even though it's kind of a crazy movie and you're not sure if it's serious or not, I do feel like it has a really good message about being yourself, about not living in the past like the dads are doing, standing up to bullies. So it's a little cheesy, but it's really entertaining, and it really does have, if you look at what it's really about, the messages are pretty damn strong in there. So
I agree.
kudos
Kudos.
to Varsity Blues and MTV Films.
Well done.
Yep.
Actually,
Well
done
said.
very well. Actually, put a tear in my eye.
Gomez cries because he's a bit of a crier.
Yeah.
Do we want to go into our best sports movies then?
I'll give
Yes.
you-
You ready
Yeah,
to move
I got
on?
my-
So yeah, we are going to go with our favorite sports movies that we have. to end this off here. So,
all right,
we've all got a little bit of a different list prepared, I think.
Yeah.
So I think because Gomez is our guest of honor, we should actually have him go last.
Okay.
Right, to close it out.
I'm cool with that.
If everybody agrees. So, Gifford, do you want to start us off?
Absolutely. So the way I put my list together is I went through different sports and just kind of marked down my favorite movie within that sport. So for football, I put in Varsity Blues. I love this movie. I'm glad Gomez picked it. For hockey, I went with Miracle.
Ooh.
Baseball, I got Bull Durham. For basketball, White Men Can't Jump. For golf, I went with Tin Cup.
Yes.
For ping pong, Balls of Fury. Figure skating, The Cutting Edge. Racing, I went with the animated film Cars.
Oh, you could have gone Talladega Nights.
I could have went Talladega
or
Nights.
Days of Thunder.
I could have went Days of Thunder, but I went with Cars.
Okay.
I love that movie. For horse racing, I went a little out of the outside the box and went with Hidalgo.
Ooh.
For tennis, I went with King Richard, a new movie out. I mean, Will Smith beat everybody at the Oscars for that. So that was excellent. Yep.
And then he slapped Chris Rock too. Literally slaps Chris Rock. Poor Chris.
For boxing, I went with Diggstown. Boxing was a tough one, but I love Diggstown. I know there's a lot of Rocky movies and the Creed and just a ton, but I like that one. For the sport of dodgeball, I went with Dodgeball. MMA, I went with Bloodsport. Poker, I went with Rounders. Pool, Color of Money. Diving, Back to School.
Okay.
Yes, the triple
Rodney Dangerfield.
Yep, the triple ending. Yep.
And William Zabka is in that movie, isn't he?
Yes.
Cheerleading, I went with Bring It On. And surfing, Point Break. So those are my sport movies.
There is a sport that a big one that you missed there.
Okay.
It's a sport that unless I missed it, that I have on my list.
All right. So, well, do you want to go next, Pete?
I can go next. I just did straight up. I didn't categorize mine by sports. I just did honorable mentions and then my top 5 like we normally do. So my honorable mentions are, I guess the sport would be karate. I had Karate Kid. I had Rudy. I had Hoosiers, Miracle, and Major League. And then we get into my top 5. It's a golf one, The Legend of Bagger Vance.
Ooh, good one.
Okay.
Number 4 is the one that I think that you missed, unless I didn't hear it. The sport would be bowling, and I had Kingpin.
Oh,
yes.
Great!
Bowling.
I didn't think about that one.
Oh, Pete, you're the man.
That's a good one. I like that one.
Yes. For number 3, I had 2 that I bucketed together because they're both Kevin Costner baseball movies that came out at around the same time. Bull Durham and Field of Dreams. Love both those movies. I can't say one is better than the other. I love them. I got another baseball one at number 2, The Natural.
Okay.
Probably my favorite baseball movie. I don't know. Those 3 movies together are just all great. But probably the more truly great movie all around is The Natural. And then my number 1 is golf. I had Caddyshack.
Yes.
All right. So my list is similar to Gifford's in that I tried to do a top 5, but there's too many, so I lumped them by sports. And so it's similar. So my number 5, there's not a lot of football movies I love. So that's my number 5.
Really aren't.
I don't. Did you guys say Remember the Titans?
Remember the Titans?
Actually, on my football list.
Because that's mine, and then I have Varsity Blues as the other football one. But Remember the Titans is a great movie.
What about Invincible or The Program? Like those are awesome football.
Wait,
I've got my list. I'm talking about my list.
Sorry.
List either.
Number 4, I had what I would call fighting movies. So that included one of the greatest movies in the history of film, The Karate Kid.
Mm-hmm.
But then my favorite boxing movie is The Fighter, which is one of the just best movies ever. God, I love that movie. Number 3, I've got basketball movies. Hoosiers, which is another classic, but then I also had to throw Teen Wolf on there because you can't do without
very different movies.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, then you get to the 2 sports that have the most movies that I love. So number 2 is baseball. I guess if you put a gun to my head, it's Major League, because if I'm going to watch a baseball movie, I mean, that's going to be the most fun one to watch. But I got Major League, Field of Dreams, Bull Durham, and The Natural. All these movies came out within like 4 years of each other.
Yes.
And they're all amazing. And then number 1, I am at heart, more than anything else, a golfer. Yep. So my number 1 is also Caddyshack. But you've also got Tin Cup and Happy Gilmore. So there's 3 great golf movies right there.
Yep.
The Legend of Bagger Vance. I was surprised to hear you put that so high, Pete. I guess that's a pretty good movie.
I really love that movie.
That was a good
Caddyshack had to be my number 1.
Yep.
So there it is. But Tin Cup, man, I love that movie.
That's a great soundtrack.
Movie. Yeah, I had kind of forgotten about that one.
Cheech Marin as a caddy is always great.
Yes.
All right, so, Gomez, take us home.
So I went top 10 football movies for me. I have a few honorable mentions I will mention. Hockey, and, Miracle is one of them, of course. But another hockey movie that I loved growing up watching was Youngblood.
I've never seen Youngblood.
I haven't either,
talked about that.
Movie.
That's got both Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze in it, right?
Rob Lowe is the main
character. Youngblood is a great movie, so if you ever get a chance to watch it, please do that.
I will.
Break for surfing. Bowling would have definitely been Kingpin. See, now golfing for me would be Tin Cup, Caddyshack 1 and 2, even though Caddyshack 2 was bad.
I've heard you, Ty. You like Caddyshack 2.
I love Caddyshack 2. Well, I went with my top 10 favorite football movies.
Okay.
So I went with the Gridiron Gang for my number 10. Little Giants, number 9. The Waterboy, number 8. Necessary Roughness is number 7.
Oh, yeah.
Kathy Ireland.
Yes, yes. Wildcats for number 6.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, Goldie Hawn.
Goldie Hawn, exactly. You needed a little Goldie. Mm-hmm. Now, top 5 of football movies for me. Any Given Sunday.
Yep.
Rudy.
Oh, yeah, Rudy.
You got to remember little Rudy there.
I love Rudy.
Draft Day.
Oh.
Now, I say this with whole heart, The Blind Side.
Yes.
Yeah. Good movie.
Very good.
And number 1, Varsity Blues, but my number 11 honorable mention in football would have been The Program. Program would have been hired up, but they cut that damn scene in the movie off thanks to Disney back in the day.
The train scene?
No, not the train scene, the highway scene. Where they were sitting in the highway, literally in the program.
Oh, yeah.
They took that scene they cut that scene off, which was so pathetic, but no idiot would do that anyway.
Right.
So
there's a lot of idiots out there.
That's
now
true.
that we've heard everybody's list, and you even did a top 10 football list, there's 2 that I wrote down that I'm surprised. Again, unless I missed it, I don't think I heard it all, but they're both very good football movies. We Are Marshall was another good one.
I have seen that one.
I have seen that one. It was all right. I wasn't one of that stood out to me.
I thought it was really good. And what about Jerry Maguire?
Oh, yeah, I did think about that.
My wife kept bringing that one up, too, and I was like, that's not a football movie. It's an agent rom-com movie.
But same thing with Draft.
You could put it in. I wouldn't argue with anybody if they had it on their list as a sports movie, because it is. It's a sports and a football movie.
Yeah, but you think about it. Look at Draft Day with Kevin Costner.
Sure. Yeah, but that's about the inner workings of football, though.
That's true, but still.
Yeah, so is Jerry Maguire. It's about a football agent and player.
But you know what's funny?
Football themed. Yeah.
Another baseball movie I was surprised that was not mentioned with Kevin Costner, For the Love of the Game.
I've never actually seen that.
Yes, I just thought of that too. That's actually a really good one.
I've heard that it's actually pretty good.
It actually is a very good movie. Kelly Preston's in this movie. Kevin Costner, he's a Detroit aging pitcher for the Detroit Tigers. He's now at Yankee Stadium.
Yes. Facing
his best friend that was in Detroit for a while, all this stuff, and he's just remembering all these things throughout the 9 innings, throwing a no-hitter.
Mm-hmm. A perfect game. He's got a perfect game going.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And, it's just, he's just thinking about Kel, the girl, the kid, everything. What could he have done better? What's he gonna do? You know what I mean? And it was just, I thought that was a great movie with him. I love Bull Durham. Don't get me wrong. That was a funny movie.
Yeah.
Tin Cup, one of my favorite golfing movies ever, besides Caddyshack. Major League, I love Major League 1. You know which one I liked even better? Was Major League Back in the Minors.
Was that the third one?
Oh, really?
That was the third one.
I've never seen that.
So the third one, the only two remaining original cast members from the original one was Pedro and Tanaka from the second movie.
Now, was Scott Bakula in the movie?
Scott Bakula is in the movie, and Roger Dorn. I forgot about Roger Dorn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's the owner now of the Minnesota Twins.
Right. It's a Minnesota Twins minor league team. It's a Salt Lake City team.
Yes.
That actually was their minor league team at the time.
The Bumblebee Buzz.
Really? We had a team in
it was the Salt Lake City Buzz.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Salt Lake Buzz.
Wow.
So, I thought that movie was actually a lot better than the second one. But that's me.
Well,
Major League 2 is the only movie I ever walked out on.
Major League, Pete, you were there, right? That's one of the few movies in my life I've ever walked out of the theater on was Major League 2.
Yep.
It was that bad.
It was.
We left.
Yep.
Yeah.
It just no. Ricky Vaughn suited up. No, it just killed me. It's like put a stick in my heart.
You didn't have Wesley Snipes, right? It was Omar Epps.
Epps, yes, that's another thing.
As Ricky.
What was the other one? Because I want to give honorable mention because we are all you're probably not Gomez, but we are all big Minnesota Twins fans.
What's Little Big League?
Little Big League is the one where the kid buys the twins. Or
no.
Inherits them.
Inherits the twins. I love that movie because it was funny that his grandfather always tested him in his knowledge of baseball before he died, and he to go see Roger Clemens, he had to do a science project, and the only thing he did was change the name of the mountain. Like, it was like, wasn't this Mount St. Helens? Yeah, now it's Mount Vesuvius.
Well, and another honorable mention I have to get in here is Slapshot. That is a great hockey film as well, and also Mystery Alaska.
Mystery Alaska was a good one. Yes,
that was a good one.
Just because it was with the New York Rangers.
Right, there you go. Yep.
Pond hockey. But you know what? Right. You mentioned pool movies, The Color of Money. Great movie. The Hustler. Yep. The original movie, The Hustler. But then there was another movie with Christopher Walken. Pool Hall Junkies.
Yep.
That's another great movie. I mean, even though the scenes, it's
a good movie, yeah.
It's actually one of the best pool movies out there. Chaz Palminteri is in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Ricky Schroeder's in this movie. There was a couple of not big name guys, but you see them. Christopher Walken was the main guy, the named guy in this movie. But it's about a guy who's down on his luck, is a pool hall hustler. He had an opportunity to make the pros. He never did. The Chaz, his character, made him stay as a hustler, and he finds out something, and then he's like, "I put up 20,000, Chico." It's like, the guy's name was Chico. He said, "Hey, this is like it's quiet now, like a church in here, and it was like a night in an Apollo a minute ago." So it's just one of those good movies. I actually do enjoy watching pool because I got the opportunity to play pool in championships in Vegas. So that was like my go-to movie. Yeah. I was part of the APA league here in Jersey. My first 5 years, I went 5 years in a row to Vegas. So for me, my team was that good. So I just played and we had a great time and just a lot of fun.
Cool.
Right. Okay, well, Gomez, I don't know how many episodes of our show that you've listened to, but we always close every show with a little band we like to call Preacher Row.
Well, before we do that, we need to close something else.
I also want to say we all survived. We're all still alive.
Yes.
The tornadoes that hit, and we're sorry for the audio issues and the sirens that went off that I'm sure aren't going to be edited out because they're right in the middle of everything. So,
but have you gone outside? But hey, look outside to see if
we are alive.
Hey,
Rangers will be back next month.
Rangers win.
Yes, 5-3 final.
Excellent.
Close that
yearbook all around. Yes, let's close the yearbook and Gifford, you were going to add something there?
I was just going to say, close the yearbook on 1999. Another great year, fellas.
Close the yearbook and throw on Preacher Row. All right.
I like it.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
I don't want your life.
Your life.
Your life.
See ya.
No one's here to comfort me. Sorry for what I have done. Sorry that your son is gone. Something's else and it will be my last.